You are listening to We Are the Compassionate Revolution. I'm your podcast host, therapist, author, boundaries guide, Molly Moon. If you are a compassionate person and you want to know your worth, set better boundaries, live from your truth, and operate in your fullness, then I am so glad you've joined us. You ready? Let's get started. So, I am going to a week-long meditation retreat, and I am someone who, in the past, hated meditation. By the time you hear this, I'll be back, but I thought I'd share a bit about my meditation journey here, because I have a feeling I'm not the only one who's ever felt like this, and perhaps being open about my own experiences might help. I did not like meditation for myself, so much so that the word would actually make me cringe inside. At the same time, I thought it was really cool when other people did it. And the research on the benefits of meditation is phenomenal. You can't argue with that. But the experience of meditation, particularly sitting meditation, no. Because when I tried it, I just found it so hard. Sitting still felt like doing nothing, and I do not like to do nothing. If I am going to sit still and do nothing, please, I would like to relax, like go sit in a hot bath or read a good book, not work. And meditation felt like work that involved doing nothing. And, I'm focusing on my breath. My thoughts are pinging all around. My to-do list is ever present going, hey, Molly, did you think about this? You need to get this done. And oh my gosh, you forgot about this. You could be doing that right now, actually. But no, you're not. You're just busy sitting there focusing on your breath. How is that helping get anything done? And then, I'm quickly hooked because I'm like, yeah, I know, right? I agree. I've been breathing my whole life without focusing on it. Why do I have to focus on it now? What's that going to even do? And then I get up and go back to work, fixing, that to-do list, and feel relieved that I'm at least engaging in something productive and I'm not sitting there doing nothing anymore. And those of you who've been meditating for a while are laughing right now because that is so the early stage of meditation, right? But my perception of meditation closed me off to it. I remember reading a study, and I don't remember the details of it, so I'm going to give you my general recollections. This is a while back, but it was a study about the profound changes found in the brains of people who had near-death experiences, and the study compared them to the changes found in that same area of the brain, and I believe it was Buddhist monks in this case. It was a comparable change to that of these experienced meditation practitioners who'd been meditating for 30 years or beyond, and I remember thinking, oh, I really, really want that brain change. I want my brain lighting up that way, but I don't want to have to meditate for 30 years to get there. It'd be kind of cool if I could just have a near-death experience that didn't hurt or cause any harm. And that's like, what? But I'm sharing this because I know I am not the only one who thinks, yeah, meditation, no thank you. For some of us, it's just hard to sit still. For some of us, it's hard to feel like we're doing nothing. Hard to even want to do nothing. For some of us, it's just hard to listen to what's happening in our heads. Interestingly, for me, my way of accessing meditative states still happened. It came through other avenues, primarily creativity, art making, music making, journaling, writing, movement. Really profound stuff has come into me through creative inner work. And as a therapist, I then loved using art therapy with my clients. I'd often bring in the same tools I'd stumbled into for myself. And we could go in so deep and have such profound experiences in there. I wasn't thinking of those things as meditation, but looking back, yes, that's a form of meditation. And they got me into that same state. Through creative avenues, I learned how to listen to and work with a very deep intuitive presence that was actually me. The me I thought I was in my thinking mind turned out to be contained inside of a me that was beyond thinking, much bigger, much deeper. If you've had that experience, you know what I'm talking about. So finding that profound pathway in through those, I guess they really should be called healthy altered states of consciousness, you know? It brought me access to wisdom and peace and deeper self-awareness and knowing, and helped me not get so trapped in my overthinking, anxious brain. Because now I could drop into something quieter, deeper, more real. And that was medicine to my brain too, because my brain was able to then become a lot less anxious because it was no longer stuck with just one perception of reality. We expanded. And those of you who've worked with me, that is why so many of those art therapy practices are built into the Boundaries program, right? Because they're so effective at helping us tune into and then shift our limited perspective into a much bigger one. And that's also where our true inner boundaries are. We can hear our true boundaries from that space. And there's the peace. There's the clarity. There's the wisdom. Anyways, long story short, those avenues, those methods really met my needs. So I wasn't very hungry for more. I felt taken care of. I had a rich array of tools. So I confidently decided, it's funny how the mind works, I literally confidently decided sitting meditation is not for me, the end. You know, hey, there are different types of people in this world, different methods, different tools, so there's no judgment. You know, meditation doesn't have to be a match for me. And then I completely shut myself off from even the desire to try it or explore it any further. It was just a firm no. And I plan to stay that way for the rest of my life, for real, until a friend of mine had an experience that was so moving, I had to investigate. So I have this friend, Jen, who is a walking dynamo of wonderfulness. And you wouldn't know it if you met her, but she's also had a chronic health issue that was not one you get to survive. She was told to prepare for death a long time ago, but she somehow kept living anyways. And yet still, there's that preparation for the inevitable. So Jen's also in this gorgeous awakening process of inner work, and she'd asked another friend of ours in the healing professions if there was one event or one thing to go to for where she was at in her journey. What would this friend recommend the most? And this friend says Joe Dispenza. So guess what Jen does? She does it. She signs up for a meditation retreat with Joe Dispenza. And here's where the story gets wild. Jen came back having had a significant experience that included what I can only describe as a physical healing. Her deteriorating health had improved to the point that a planned transplant was put on pause. And I am like, what? Because in my mind, meditation is good for brain functioning and emotional well-being, you know, spirituality too, sure, but healing physical stuff? And I have some background in religious-based trauma, so I've known people who claim to be healers, and there was some messed up stuff in that camp. So even though this Dispenza guy is nothing close to that camp, it still put me on high alert, you know? Like, what? Is this some new age bullshit? Is this someone manipulating people? I didn't think so, and out of anyone, Jen's not the type of person to fall for that, but still, I had this alert, like, what are you getting into and who is this guy? So I decided to check this guy out. You know, as I'm typing his name into the search engine, I realized right away, oh wait, him? What? Because I remembered seeing his name on some counseling training once that I hadn't gone to, but it looked interesting. I remembered him being super science-y. So I'm like, that guy? Wait, what? So now I'm even more curious. So I found and watched this documentary of his that was explaining all of the scientific studies they're doing on these types of meditation, where basically they're hooking people up to all these monitors and studying the effects that certain meditations are having on the blood, the brain, the immune system, the gene expression, the heart. I mean, extensive studies, finding out what works, in what ways it works, getting incredible results. So watching that documentary had me very interested. And I felt that deep feeling inside of me that I have felt every time I stumbled into something that was going to end up having a powerful effect on my life going forward. So I knew, oh, there it is. Okay, here I go. I sure didn't see this one coming, but I can already tell I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. I really wanted to go to a live event at that time, but I couldn't attend anything because Funnily enough, I was busy leading my own retreats during the times his retreats were offered. So I took a little online course offered on his website. And I had it, playing on my iPad while I was doing dishes or folding laundry because my schedule's so busy. That's about the only way I can fit anything in. But I was listening. And I found the trainings incredibly helpful for me to understand the science behind meditation at a level I'd never considered. And at the end of the online course, there was this final meditation in the class, and I did it. I actually remember right where I sat when I did it because I almost skipped it because I was looking at the time of the meditation. It was like an hour long, and I'm like, ugh, do I really want to sit here for an hour? And then I'm like, Molly, do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You sit there for an hour? Okay, you'll be fine. So I did it. And in that meditation, I connected to my essence. Now, again, I have a lot of different ways I can connect to my essence. I know that state. I know what it feels like. It's so full of joy, full of peace, wisdom, guidance. But what surprised me was through this meditation method was how I connected so deeply and for such a sustained amount of time. I mean, I just sat there and sobbed, weeping for joy. And when I came out of the meditation, my cheeks were tired because I'd been smiling for so long in this state of absolute peace. So through that little course, my brain had become convinced, yep, this is for me. It's not optional anymore. There's definitely something here for you, Molly, and it's essential. This is what I think is kind of cool. My brain went from, we do not have time to sit down and do nothing. Have you seen our to-do list? My brain switched from that to, oh, we need to sit down and do this. This has to become a regular part of our life. And then in the actual doing of the meditation itself, the somatic experiencing, the bodily experience of accessing consciousness, for lack of a better word, my body was sold as well. So my brain is like totally into this. And then my body's like, oh yeah, we need this. This is amazing. One of the biggest missing pieces for compassionate people as we heal and come into our power is boundaries, because we've been trained not to have any. And I've experienced that not only in my own life, but with tons of people I've worked with as a therapist, fellow counselors, physicians, teachers, social workers, people who care. We know we need boundaries, but how? And then if we try to have some, we feel selfish, guilty, or mean. That's why I have such a strong focus on boundaries, because boundaries are integral to our empowerment. But people like us need to discover our boundaries in a way that actually works for our compassionate hearts. And that's what my Boundaries Breakthrough mini course is all about. It's just $19, it's packed with value, and it's so easy to do. You can get the Boundaries Breakthrough mini course at boundaried.com. That's boundaried with a D.com. The link is in the show notes, and I hope you have a blast in the mini course because it was really fun to make for you. So after that little class with my body and brain now totally on board, I began a practice of meditating. It's been interesting because at first doing it daily wasn't quite how it worked, though that was my goal. But it was really easy to forget, It was easy to not have room for it on my schedule because I didn't. I have a really busy schedule. So it was really tempting to say, I don't have time today, I'll do it tomorrow. As you know, there's always a good reason to put stuff off. But thanks to my body and my brain being cheerleaders now of a daily meditation practice, I do it more often than not. And then that helped me motivate it to make sure it's done daily because, wow, through meditation, it feels like I get to access the fullness of reality and then come back to this life, which is a reality, but not all of it. And I now get to bring in a wider, richer, fuller reality into it in a deeper way than I had before, which is phenomenal. Meditation is taking me to whole new depths in my own inner work. And maybe those are depths I would have reached eventually, but at a slower pace. I say that with some caution because the thing with meditation is there isn't an agenda. You can't say, all right, I'm going to meditate now and I'm going to have an epiphany and an ecstatic experience in about 20 minutes. Ready, set, go. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes meditation's just witnessing your busy thoughts chatter incessantly because that's what's going to happen that day. Sometimes meditation is mentally peaceful and physically grounding, and that's it. And at other times, I feel like I get a full-on software update, like a whole new awakening births inside of myself, and I come out profoundly changed and stuff to think about and integrate for the next month. You don't know. It'll be whatever it'll be at that time. And I think that's true of anything in our healing work, on our healing journey. You got to show up, and you just keep showing up. As a therapist, and as someone who's gone to therapy myself, that's how it works in therapy. When you're seeing a really good therapist for weekly sessions, each individual session may or may not involve a deep healing moment, but some will. And you get to experience those deep healing moments because you have been going to the therapy session every week. You keep showing up and the healing comes when it comes, and you receive it because you're there for it. Same principles there with meditation and all things similar. If you know something is a practice for you during this season, practice it because it has gifts for you. But don't put an agenda on it and expect those gifts to come in a certain linear way. Because first of all, the timing of those sorts of gifts is above your pay grade. And secondly, coming at it with that agenda energy will render the practice ineffectual because agenda is ego, and ego doesn't get us what we want. So we have to do the work that is within our pay grade. That's the showing up part. And we have to let go of trying to control things that aren't in our control, because at the end of the day, it's not about the epiphanies. I mean, I love epiphanies. And epiphanies are beautiful, but they mean nothing if we're not turning them into daily actions. How many people do we know who know wise things with their heads, but don't live them? I saw that growing up and as a young adult in a religious setting. There were people who really practiced love. Oh, beautiful, right? And then there are those others who can quote all the spiritual or religious texts, but their actions are the exact opposite. And yet they were so blinded by their impressive knowledge and theological expertise that they didn't even see their own hypocrisy. But if you were on the other side of it, it physically hurt. And I remember thinking, I never want to be like that. Because it's so easy to fall into. And then outside of the faith camp, the same thing happens in all the other arenas too. Anyone can quote a cool meme on the internet about how we should all treat each other more kindly, but are you actually doing it when no one's looking? When it's hard, when you don't want to? Just because we know a thing doesn't mean we actually know it if we aren't doing it. Knowledge is here to inform our practice, to help us show up for our lives in deeper ways. That's the real work. Now, I love inner work because I want to live it. It's not about the inner work. It's about who the inner work is helping me become, me in my fullness, you in your fullness. That's the point. That's actually where the passion for boundaries has come in for me so strongly, because I think we can get the healing from therapy, we can get the epiphanies from various places, but how do we knit it into our everyday life? And to me, boundaries are the structural support of how to live love, and I'm talking about love with a capital L, in real everyday life. The embodiment of the principle of honor self, honor others, that's boundaries to me. And meditation and things like that are learning how to tune the inner radio dial to the channels that are singing our truth, who we really are, the fullness of who we really are, the worth that we innately contain, the worth that everybody else innately contains. And to me, boundaries are how to bring that song into the everyday physical world. That's exciting. All that to say, I found through meditation a new way to turn and tune that inner radio dial and deepen into a richer, full neural awareness in a more sustained way. So now, me, the person who openly and unapologetically said, meditation is not for me, no thank you, I am going to a week-long meditation retreat, and I'm excited. I'm a little bit nervous. I've done lots of trainings, but not something like this, but mostly I'm just really excited and open and interested, curious to see what it's like and what happens. And I decided to talk about it on the podcast today because I want to be open about my own journey and what I'm finding and how it's deepening. And I know that meditation is something a lot of us are waking up to. And it makes sense to me because these shifts, these awakenings, these changes happening inside of compassionate people all over the world, they're inviting us to go inward and really develop and sharpen the tools we're going to need for a sustained effort. We need access to our truth, to our wisdom, to our peace, any moment, anytime, anywhere. Some of you are just newly waking up, just starting to realize that inner peace and joy is something you can even access at all. Still feels almost hard to believe, like, what? That's possible? But you're here for it. You're putting your first tentative steps onto the path in whatever way is right for you right now. That's so cool. Others listening are further in the awakening process and you're really enjoying being able to start accessing your inner peace and joy, but you're also noticing it's really easy to get shaken right out of it. And then sometimes it can take a long time to get back into. You know, there's so much happening in our own lives and then in this world that is shaking. Houses of cards are falling everywhere we look. We are in a time of great change. And if we aren't connected to our deep inner center, it's really impossible to stand in times like these with so much shaking everywhere. And for those of us who are privileged enough not to be in immediate harm's way, and not everybody is, but if you are, we need to have tools to stay grounded and stay rooted in the truth of who we are and what we're here to do. We can't help anyone, including ourselves, if we're completely destabilized every time we turn around. So not only is meditation really delicious for our own personal practice, for our own emotional well-being and healing journey and inner growth and empowerment, but it's also really powerful for helping the collective. And that's true of all of our work, all of our healing work, our boundaries work. It's all personal and it's also for everyone. Because the more we are rooted in ourselves and in our truth, the more we can show up for our world and operate together as a beautiful collective. And that's where the power of big change resides. I think it's also really cool that there are many, many ways to meditation, many ways to have a meditation practice. I connected with Dispenza's approach, so for as long as that's helpful for me, I'm going to continue. One thing I noticed is that I really like leaders and speakers and healers who bring people into their power. That means a lot to me. Because I think our job as leaders in the healing space is to raise people up into their fullness, which is to say, from the ego's perspective, you're kind of working yourself out of a job. But that's a good thing. And that's the sense I'm getting from his work so far, that he's really using his modality to help call people into who they are and what they're here to do so they can go do it. So that really matches with me. That's the song in my bones and what I know I'm here to do. And those are the kind of people I love to learn from. But again, there are so many ways, and meditation itself is free. Once you know how, it's yours, anywhere, anytime. It's pretty badass. So if you are like me and you felt that meditation isn't for you, but you wonder sometimes if maybe you're missing something or maybe you'd like to give it another look, I'd encourage you to do so if you're feeling that tug, because you never know what might surprise you. I've certainly been surprised. This journey of awakening and becoming ourselves, it's a wild one. You really never know what's going to come around the corner to take you even deeper, and it might not be what you think, right? I think the key is just to listen, and when you know there's something there for you, go with it and receive what is there for you. Why not? All right, speaking of receiving what is there for you, I got to go finish packing because I got a plane to catch. And by the time you listen to this, I'm going to be back from the retreat, so I will be sure to report from the other side. Until next time, remember, love is the way, and you are worthy of the same love you so easily give to everybody else. My compassionate friend, I am so glad you're with us. We are the compassionate revolution. We are the change the world needs, and we're becoming it. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or give this podcast a 5-star review. I'd appreciate it so much. And if you'd like to get practical and work with me more closely on boundaries, you can come visit me at boundaried.com. That's boundaried with a D.com for amazing resources. Because this is how we do it. One action at a time. We are moving into our power. And I'm so proud to be in this movement with you.